Yo, welcome to another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host, the man behind the mic, K Sap. And today, man, we got one of them shows, man, that I had to put some thought in it before I wanted to produce this show. But when you come across the video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you share the video out. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you turn your post notifications on. And if you're new to the channel and you're just first time coming across the channel, please subscribe. On this channel, we do sports, hot topics, roundtable talk, and the marriage chronicles. I see everybody in the comments section. Hashtag salute. You know what my mantra is? Tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. For today's show, man, it's one of them shows, man, that I woke up this morning, man, and I looked across my timeline and I saw Gilbert Arenas was trending. And it seems like he responded back on his live session to some of the things that Dreamers Pro had to say when he had Michael Cooper on his show. But guys, I've looked at Gilbert Arenas' podcast, man, and as a ex NBA player such as Gilbert Arenas, man, it is hard to rebuke some of the opinions and some of the statements that Gilbert Arenas has said about certain NBA players in certain eras of the game. Now we know Gilbert Arenas, man, he was one of them guys that he was a scoring machine. I mean, his skills was, uncanny. And the only reason why Gilbert Arenas coming into the NBA fell into the second round, it wasn't because of his skills. It's because of some of the off-court, an attitude that Gilbert had when he was at Arizona. Because skillfully, when he was drafted in 2001, he should have been in the first round. He dropped down to the second round, first pick in the second round, but it wasn't because of his skill set. We know what Agent Zero brings to the table. His luxurious career, 11-year career that he had, he was drafted, to Golden State. He played with Golden State from 2001 to 2003. And then, he made his mark when he played with the Washington Wizards in 2003 to 2010. I went to some of them games down there when Gilbert played at Washington. They used to call him Gibby. He made his mark. He was a scoring machine. And then, in 2010, 2011, he played with the Orlando Magic. And then 2012, played with the Memphis Grizzlies. And then he had an extent over there with the Shanghai Sharks from 2012 to 2013. But, Gilbert's accolades speak for itself, man. He was a three-time NBA All-Star from 2005 to 2007. Also, All-NBA second team, in 2007. Two-time NBA third team, 2005, 2006. And then he was the NBA's most improved player in 2003. And then even in college, he was, first team All Pac-10 in 2001. And then he was a Pac-10 freshman in 2000. So Gilbert Arenas' accolades speak for itself. Now, this notion about the opinions that Gilbert Arenas has on certain subjects on his podcast, if you look at it in its totality, Gilbert is speaking facts. I mean, the things that Gilbert says, being out on the court with these guys and playing in the era that he played in and playing against the numerous guys that he played against, he's seen it up close and personal. So for anybody that's challenging Gilbert Arenas' opinions, man, I mean, you got to take a long look at what Gilbert is saying, because when the whole totality of it, when you think about it and you go back and replay it and you listen to it, Gilbert is stating a lot of facts. Gilbert Arenas did a podcast talking about, the Joker and Shaq. Could Shaq play in this era, and could Joker play in Shaq's era? And basically what Gilbert Arenas was saying, the Joker probably could play in the era that Shaq played in, and the way he would be dominant is his passing ability. Because if you look at the big men in Shaq's era, such as David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Keem Olajuwon, and guys like that, they was big men. They was skillful down in the post. And, they trying to get buckets with their style of play that they did. The same with Shaq. That's why Gilbert calls Shaq the most dominant player that ever played the game. And he said he's the most dominant big. He puts him above Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and things like that. And a lot of people, didn't like Gilbert's assessment on that, but Gilbert is absolutely right. If you look at it in the totality of what Gilbert is talking about, he's speaking facts. And then he was saying, in this era today, Shaq would be unguardable because you got to understand, we don't have no big guys that want to go down on the post and bang like that. Shaq would just be dominant. Feed him the ball. He going to get you a bucket or get fouled. So he's going to be dominant. Whatever era Shaq played in, he is going to be dominant. Now, today's game, we don't have the likes of the Alonzo Mournings, the Keem Olajuwons, the David Robinsons, Patrick Ewings, and guys like that. So Shaq would eat. In today's era, if we're talking about the Orlando Shaq and the Lakers Shaq could easily average 30 and 20 on any given night. So Gilbert made that claim, and everybody that's challenging Gilbert's assessments on things, you got to look again. And then I was looking at a podcast that, Dreamers Pro produced about some of the things that he said Gilbert is outlandish about. And then Gilbert did a live show, critiquing what the Dreamers Pro said. And, the Dreamers Pro has his opinions, but Gilbert was just teaching him respectfully about what Gilbert was trying to say. And Gilbert, if you look at it, Gilbert makes a lot of sense, man. And I'm taking one segment where Gilbert said on his podcast that the late, great Kobe Bryant's defense was trash. I don't think Gilbert was saying that overall Kobe's defense was trash. Basically, what Gilbert was saying, that when he played against him, his defense against him was trash. Because like Gilbert said, you take out the injury-riddled first couple games and in and out of the lineup, averaging 24 points against Kobe Bryant, Gilbert can say that because he faced the man head up. And that's what he was saying, that Kobe's defense was trash against him. He wasn't saying that Kobe's defense was totality of it all was trash, because we know what the Mamba brought to the table defensively. But when Gilbert faced him, like Gilbert said, in the last 8 games, Gilbert averaged 34 points a game against Kobe. And he said, take out the infamous 60 points that he dropped on him. And if you put that in there, he averaged 35 points against Kobe Bryant. So Gilbert has the right to say that Kobe Bryant's defense was trash. But then he took it a step further. He made it a point where he was telling people that you go back and look at that playoff series against the Cleveland Cavaliers, when they had LeBron, when he was down in his prime, where he was known as a defender. You had Larry Hughes. You had Eric Snow. You had Anderson Varejao. And in that series, Gilbert Arenas averaged 32. So, basically what Gilbert is saying, he has a right to say that. And you can't rebuke the things that Gilbert Arenas is saying. And then he went on a podcast and was talking about who is the harder cover, Allen Iverson or Kyrie Irving. He said, hands down, Allen Iverson, because Allen Iverson was trying to get 50 on your head every night. And then he said, Kyrie Irving, he's going to put you in the bag. The moves and stuff like that are nice, but Allen Iverson is coming straight at you. He's going to try to drop 50 every time. So this notion of, people saying Gilbert Arenas is dumbfounded buffoon, if you listen to him, you just as worse as him. But if you go back and look at all Gilbert Arenas' takes on what he's talking about on his podcast, when he sits there with Kenyon Martin, Brandon Jennings, and Rashard McCants, and the guy that, runs the show, Gilbert Arenas makes a lot of sense. And I'm not doing this podcast for clicks and views, man. I'm just getting tired of things coming across my, headlines. Gilbert Arenas said this, Gilbert Arenas said that, and people are trying to challenge what Gilbert Arenas is saying. So we got to give respect to Gilbert Arenas, because You don't see no major media outlets challenging Gilbert Arenas' opinions on certain things. When Gilbert Arenas says something about an NBA player, it's facts. He speaks facts. I mean, I know we all have our opinions saying, okay, we can opinionate this and we can opinionate that. But I think with Gilbert Arenas, it's time for cats to just stop. Leave Gilbert Arenas alone, man, because he's speaking from a place that he's comfortable of what he's speaking about. And like I tell people, man, if you're going to speak facts, you got to have the meats with the potatoes. You got to have everything up front and everything got to be reliable because if not, people are going to check you. People are going to fact check you. And Gilbert Arenas, he has fact checked a lot of people because Gilbert Arenas, basically, he's been in that world. He knows what it takes. I mean, he's not, knocking no player or throwing shade to no player. I just think Gilbert Arenas is speaking facts on some of the things that he's saying. And it all makes sense. So, you guys, before y'all come out, want to challenge Gilbert Arenas to some of the things that he says. And, Gilbert Arenas got a rebuttal for everything. He got a rebuttal for everything. And the Dreamers Pro had Michael Cooper on their show. And Michael Cooper, Dreamers Pro asked Michael Cooper about, Giannis Antetokounmpo going down training with Hakeem Olajuwon. Gilbert Arenas rebutted that because he stated a fact. He stated a fact that guys don't use Hakeem Olajuwon's moves. He said when Hakeem Olajuwon was playing, the guys that he was playing with was in practice with him every day. Nobody was able to incorporate none of the Dreams moves in their package, and they was with him every day. And basically what Gilbert was saying is Giannis's style and makeup, the way he plays the game, he's not going to be able to incorporate Hakeem Olajuwon's moves into his game because that's not the type of game that Giannis played. Then he gave a prominent example when he was around Michael Jordan. He said a perfect example where he said Michael Jordan dunking from the foul line. Gilbert said, if I can't dunk from the foul line, then I just can't dunk from the foul line. So how is Michael Jordan dunking from the foul line going to make him dunk from the foul line? So when Gilbert says things, he has a rebuttal to everything that everybody says. Like Michael Cooper said, we don't even mention Hakeem Olajuwon is, one of the best that ever do it because Hakeem Olajuwon had his own moves. It worked for him. But in order for Giannis to incorporate that in his game, that's not the type of player Giannis is. You go back and look when LeBron went out there and trained with Hakeem Olajuwon. Everybody wanted LeBron to get down in the low post. We never saw LeBron go down in the low post, use one dream shake or anything. So what Gilbert is saying, I mean, you can say that you want somebody, but that's not, Giannis has not incorporated that into his game. So why waste your money to do that? Giannis's game, what he's doing now is working for him successfully. Giannis is not the type of player that's going to go down on the block and play with his back to the basket and do the dream shake and all that. It's too late in his career. Giannis is Giannis because Giannis does the things that Giannis does. And like Gilbert was saying, Shaq in his era today will dominate the league because Shaq is the last of the big men. And on one podcast, Gilbert Arenas was also talking about, if it wasn't for Shaq, being the big man, and because if you notice, Tim Duncan, when you talk about the greatest power forwards, Tim Duncan coming out of college was a center. Chris Webber was a center. All them guys was centers. But when Shaq came into the league, them cats did not want to deal with Shaq down on the low post. So they started playing the power forward. They started, finessing the game by getting out on the perimeter, shooting jump shots and stuff like that. So when you go talking about the greatest power forwards, when Gilbert said there wasn't no power forwards, Shaq revolutionized the game for them guys to become power forwards because they was all coming out of college and recruited in college as centers. Coming into the NBA, they was classified as centers. But when they was dealing with Shaq forced them to get out of that paint to go play somewhere else because they didn't want to deal with the constant pounding that Shaquille O'Neal put on them. So, guys, man, when y'all talking about Gilbert Arenas and y'all want to, challenge Gilbert Arenas on a subject or something like that, man, you gotta pay close attention, man. You got to do your research, man. You got to really know what you're talking about when you're, debating some things up against Gilbert Arenas because there's no major media outlets challenging anything that Gilbert Arenas has said. So, respect to Agent Zero, man. Respect for you what you're doing on your podcast platform, man. And, shout out to all the YouTube community, sports media personnel. Keep doing what you're doing, man. But you guys let me know what y'all think down in the comments, man. And like I said, keep supporting the channel. Give this video a thumbs up. Get this video out there. And this is going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. We're going to catch you on the next. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
Another one.